Konnichiwa minasan, my name is Noakila binti Razali. I will be presenting about the climate of East Asia, the Japanese isolationism and the economic activities of Japan. I hope that this video will help everyone to have a better understanding of East Asia.
Assalamualaikum. Hi, my name is Muhammad Shah bin Rosman. I will talk about environmental problems, European intrusion, and economic activities of Taiwan.
Annyeong Chingede, I'm Putri Balkis and I will presenting about the Korea origin and the sub-region, the Koreas. So I hope you guys enjoy our video.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Fitriani Afrilia and tonight I will be explaining about the introduction of East Asia, Chinese Empire and lastly East Asia multinational. So stay tuned.
Assalamualaikum and good evening ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to International Business Airline flight number IBM 537. Our destination will be East Asia. We will take off at 9:30 p.m. and landed at 11:30 p.m. The pilot for this flight is Captain Mohammad Ashraf with his co-pilot Captain Nur Akila. The cabin crew are Putri Balkis and me, Fitriani Afilia. Before we take off, we require you to prepare a notebook and pen to jot down the important points. In a few moments, we will be screening the information about East Asia. The picture shown at your screen right now is the world map and the circle area is where East Asia is located. And now is the East Asia map to give the passenger a crystal view about their destination. East Asia consists of Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong, North Korea, Mongolia, Macau, South Korea, and China. Now I will introduce you to East Asia. In 1990s, East Asian Miracle term was made because of the major impacts of world politics, economic, and cultural. Today, East Asia led by China, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. In the first decade of 2000s, the world region was home to 24% of the world population and produced 20% of economic output from 9% of land area. It is third in the fourth global economy alongside the United States.
Let's proceed with climate of East Asia. The first one is subtropical rainy climate. The second one is continental temperate climate. And the last one is arid or semi-arid climate. The first climate is a humid subtropical climate. It is a zone of climate characterized by hot and humid summers and cold to mild winter. It has summer southeasterly winds that are drawn into Central Asia as the continent heats up and warm air rises in areas of low pressure. These winds bring moisture from the tropical ocean and heavy rains. In the middle to late summer, the heating of the Pacific Ocean makes the region subject to hurricanes with strong winds and rain. In winter, the winds blow outward from the high pressure over the cold continent and are cooler and drier. As you guys can see on the diagram, the subtropical rainy climate is situated at southern of China. To see a clearer picture, you can open your textbook and turn to page 194. The average temperature of the coolest month is less than 18 Celsius, 8 to 12 months with an average temperature of at least 10 Celsius. The second climate is the continental temperate climatic environment which brings summer rains and drier winter. Although summer have periods as warm as those farther south, icy winds blowing from Siberia makes winter much colder. Moreover, Japan receives more winter precipitation than the continental countries. after the winds blowing from the continental interior pick up moisture as they cross the Sea of Japan and precipitate snow on the west-facing mountain. As you can see on the diagram, the continental temperate climate is located at coastal China, the Koreas, and Japan. Average temperature of the coldest month below 10 Celsius. The last climate is a semi-arid climate or steppe climate is the climate of a region that receives precipitation below potential evapotranspiration but not as low as a desert climate. Arid climate is known for being dry. This climate is mainly found 30 degrees north and south of the equator. Despite the lack of water, plants and animals have found ways to survive in this climate. Winters are extremely cold. The high altitudes in the mountains and the Tibetan Plateau cause even greater summer winter and daily ranges of temperature. This climate is located at western part of China and the whole country of Mongolia as shown on the slide.
Assalamualaikum. Hi. I will explain about environmental problems. There is 4 problems, which is natural hazards, human impacts, diseases, and pollution. So, natural hazards. Lying along a convergent plate boundary makes Japan subject to major earthquakes such as the one in 1995 that destroyed much of Kobe and occasional volcanic eruptions. Geological activity also occurs some distance from the borders of the plate. In 1976, a massive earthquake hit the coal mining area around Tangshan in northeastern China, killing 252,000 people. Nevertheless, recovery took just a few years. Flooding is an annual hazard on lying major river plains. Chinese flood hazard attract publicity because of the large number of people affected when Huanghe or Changjiang floods. Moreover, similar risks exist locally in the other river basins and in neighboring countries as well. Human impacts and responses. The 1981, 1991 and 2010 floods along the Changjiang happened because of excessive deforestation in the upper parts of the river basin. Deforestation creates soil erosion, downstream floods, and silting. This activity happened from the expansion of agriculture and the cutting of forestry trees. In the mid-1990s, in the most northerly Huanghe Basin suffered to little water because of building dams in the headwater areas. Building dams decrease average downstream flow in the headwater areas. And the responses of government is, government agency responded by planting a green wall of trees to reduce of soil erosion by wind and water. Second is forest planting to protect the landscape of China. Farmland in the poor upland west have been turned into forests and bar hills with the trees were planted. Diseases. HIV or AIDS in an increasing threat in China. It was recognized as a national problem in 2001 when health officials in China admitted to a very serious epidemic. At the end 2010, the United Nations programs on HIV or AIDS estimated 750,000 HIV sufferers in China. One of the sources of HIV is in Henan province, where from the late 1980s, several counties made an industry blood collection. China becomes subject to a virulent from influenza, the sudden acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, which spread widely to other parts of the world because officials were reluctant to reveal the problem. A number of travelers coughed in and returned to their home countries. Between 2003 and 2011, there have been 526 cases of the avian flu and 311 deaths globally. Coronavirus diseases 2019 or COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2. The disease was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, the capital of China's Hubei province, and has since spread globally, resulting in the ongoing 2019-2020 coronavirus pandemic. Pollution. 5 Chinese cities, which are Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Xi'an, and Guangzhou, are among the 10 most polluted cities in the world. This is partly because China is 80% relying on coal for its energy. Water pollution is particularly serious around the expanding major cities, where raw sewage and untreated industrial effluents are common along rivers and in offshore fisheries. In the 1960s, high mercury levels from industrial processes poisoned fish and killed over 1,000 Japanese people who ate them, but this problem has been solved by measures and tests. In the northeast China, heavy metals from the metallurgical industries around Shenyang polluted local drinking and crop water. It caused a surge of birth defects and drop in life expectancy of 10 years below the national average of 70 years. 4.0 Cultural and Political Influences. They have 4 points, which are 4.0 Cultural and Political Influences, 4.1 Chinese Empire. So in this point, they will be about foundation of Chinese cultures, Mongol invasions, and later empires. 4.2 Japan isolationism. 4.3 Korean origins. 5.4 Responses to European intrusion. We'll talk about China resists colonization, disrupted Chinese Republic, and Japanese aggression. Introduction of cultural and political influences. Chinese, Koreans, and Japanese share many cultural characteristics, including Buddhism, use of Chinese script, close family life and kinship links, and a focus on communal organization. The modern business phenomenon of the Asia Way, built on this common culture, is marked by hierarchy of relationship that define how people work and live with each other. For example, ruler and subject, which is boss and employee, father and son, husband and wife, older person and younger person. In each, the former is regarded as protecting the latter, while the latter respects and obeys the former.
Let's start the first topic under cultural and political influences. Firstly, I will introduce you to Chinese Empire. East Asia cultures developed largely through the interaction of past Chinese civilization and empires with surrounding territories, which means Chinese Empire has a big influence in East Asia. Through period of both unity and disunity, Chinese people produced a series of achievements. In terms of technological achievements, paper was invented as well as printing, the compass, the crossbow, paddle boards, clocks, and gunpowder. Meanwhile, their cultural achievements are develop a distinctive written script, style of painting, pottery, and building designs. The top picture is an example of Chinese style painting. The other achievements are astronomy, mathematics, the understanding of weather and minerals, and engineering skills such as deep mining that's shown in the picture. Next, let's go through the foundation of Chinese Empire. By 2000 before Christ, the first Chinese civilization developed in the Yellow River, or locally known as Huanghe Valley, based on wealth from agricultural surpluses and craft skills. The second river, known as Yangtze River or Zhangjian Basin. As you can see the map on the side, the top blue line is Yellow River and the other blue line is Yangtze River. Did you know that Yellow River is the second longest river in China? Meanwhile, Yangtze River is the longest river in both China and Asia. Okay, now moving on to the next point. In 1122 until 256 before Christ, people in Zhou dynasty used Iron Age technology, irrigation, and deeper plowing of the soil to support their economy. Transportation also being improved by open wider geographical trading areas, but it attract attacks from outside to the prosperous Chinese lands. Also during the Zhou dynasty, Confucius, that well known as administrator, was called for better trained and more able managers to focus on orderly conduct and proper relation in all social contexts. 100 years passed, this philosophy finally met appointment to public office through system of merit-based written exams. This adoption has led to Confucius' birthday in September, which until now it is known as National Teachers' Day. The picture at the top is Confucius itself that made the philosophy mentioned just now. The other philosophy during Zhou dynasty is Taoism, made by Laozi. Taoism is based on the apparently opposing of yin and yang that includes dark side and sunny side of a hill, negative and positive, female and male, evil and good, heaven and earth. In fact, yin and yang are complementary, interdependent principles operating in space and time, emblems of the harmonious interplay or balance of all pairs of opposites in the universe. This teaching said that every person's duty is to strengthen, control, and expand the Qi, which means breath, cosmic energy received at birth. It can be said that yin and yang is about balance in life, just how its symbols look like. Next, we move to Qin dynasty, which around 220 before Christ. During this dynasty, the country is finally named as China. After China is named, strict laws are imposed to weld the separate feudal states into a centralized and culturally uniform empire with a standardized written script. It cites its capital near modern Xi'an, and armies are extended the empire southward into the West River or Xinjiang Basin and westward as far as Lanzhou. The Great Wall was built during this dynasty, but however, the high cost of completing the Great Wall caused some internal resentment. The next point, Southeast Asian Buddhism came to South China to spread the beliefs, but was rejected. So that's why Buddhist monks from India go to northern China in the early years of the first millennium after Christ. Buddhism adds spiritual dimension to materialistic Confucianism and brought more systematic framework to Taoist philosophies. Basically, the Buddhists came and adjusted the beliefs there, and finally, the result was seen after 600, which a period of literary and artistic brilliance, religious tolerance, and foreign trade. However, a literate Chinese elite rejected Buddhism as disruptive despite the success. The next dynasty, which is Tang Dynasty, spread Chinese influence into the northeast part of modern China, Korea, Japan, and northern Vietnam. In the early 1020s, Zen Buddhism, a form that is centered in meditation and moments of insight in the course of mundane activities, arrived in Korea and Japan. Meanwhile, Lamaistic Buddhism was established in Tibet from the 600s after Christ, combining Indian Buddhism with Tibetan rituals. The Lama leaders are both religious and political. The term Dalai, that means ocean of wisdom, was conferred by a Mongol ruler on the third leader of Tibetan Buddhism. Unexpectedly, Lamaism has had a continuing impact on Chinese dynasty that wished to establish political control over Tibet. Next, I will explain about the second subtopic, which is Mongol invasions. In the 1200s, the Mongols invaded China. The Mongol leader, which was known as Kublai Khan, the picture on the side, established his capital in northern China, which is at Beijing. He and his descendants ruled as Chinese emperors. The native Chinese intellectual drives to the center and economic development going southward. Many Mongols intermarried with Chinese, and that's how their population grew bigger in China. In the 1300s, the Chinese grew resentment toward the new rulers. It is because of the disruptive and taxes imposed on them. Because of the huge resentment, along with crop failures and famines, it opened the way for rebellion and the establishment of Ming Dynasty in 1368. After the Mongol invasions, Ming Dynasty came and replaced them, then renewed Chinese expansion during the right time, which is 1368 until 1644, where China's economy, literature, and education are in the advanced phase. Chinese naval power under Admiral Cheng Ho ventured or traveled beyond India to the Persian Gulf, Red Sea, Eastern Africa, and Madagascar. Even though the Chinese conducted trade, they did not conquer any new lands, and shockingly, they withdrew from wider linkages. Finally, the last dynasty, which is Qing Dynasty, ruled from 1644 until 1911. In mid-1700s, it had expanded the Chinese land to its farthest limits in the northeast, which are Mongolia, Xinjiang, Tibet, Burma, and Taiwan. Because of the expansion, Lamaisic Buddhism and Muslim came into western part of China. In 1820, China was the world's wealthiest empire, producing nearly one-third of world GDP. But it did not last longer because of the poor internal government faced with Western influences and conflicts that led into a decline political and economic power.
Let's proceed with Japan isolationism. Japanese isolationism is taken from Japanese word sakoku, which means closed country. Isolationism is a category of foreign policy institutionalized by leaders who assert stagnation. Japanese isolationism is the most powerful of the kingdom or empires in the land surrounding China developed in Japan. Ancient tradition placed Japan foundation in 660 before century. The Ainu, a non-Chinese people, were among the earliest inhabitants but retreated northward as other groups invaded through Korea. The picture on the right side is the example of the Ainus. Next, the principle of Shinto encapsulated Japanese traditional values in a national religion built on animism, ancient, myth, and custom. It is a pantheistic religion and involved emperor worship and Japanese superiority. It became an instrument of political control. In Shintoism, both living and non-living objects possess spirit, with Mount Fuji and other mountains being given special reverence. The Japanese crowded into the lowland, avoiding mountains because they feared to volcanic eruption and earthquakes. Japanese Buddhism tolerates Shintoism and both are followed by most of the population. Chinese Taoism and Confucianism also influence social practices. Japanese emperors resided at Kyoto, retiring from public life and delegating administration of the country to leading families of court nobles. From the 1100s, these feudal lords took over the imperial administration and armed samurai warriors under a shogun acted over the head of the powerless court. The shogun dominated Japan and largely maintained its isolation from the rest of the world. When the last shogun resigned in 1867, the Meiji Emperor regained his position as titular head of government. The royal capital moved to the Shogun Center in Edo, later called Tokyo. However, in 1889 constitution, the emperor became a figurehead and political power was taken by leading figures in the parliament. On the right side, there is a picture of Tokugawa Yoshinobu, the last shogun.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Putri Balkis. So I will presenting about the Korea origin. Korea have been split up to the two countries, which are North Korea and South Korea. So we move on to the next slide. So basically, there is no difference between North and South Korea people within their perception of nationhood, on shared blood and ancestry and ethnically. The area that is now North Korea was the center of the First Korean Kingdom, around which the peninsula was unified in the AD 600. Right after the Mongol invasion and retreat, Confucian principles of government were adopted and they replaced Buddhism as the major religion. As founded in Seoul, the Yi dynasty ruled the Kingdom of Korea from the year 1392 until 1910, even though it became issue to the Chinese intrusion in the year 1644. Due to the close proximity to Japan, it attracted aggressive interest from the growing military power. In the year of 1895 until 1894 till 1895, as rebellion that against the Korean government, the recently strengthened the Japanese forces overran Korea, and it defeated both Chinese and Russian aims to take over the Koreans. And in the year of 1910, Japan take over the Korea. So, we refer to this picture. The picture shows the Korean people in Yi dynasty. So, Korean people now adapt the faith and practicing in unique way as they are take the mixed religion which are Buddhism, Daoism, Confucianism and Christianity. North Korea and South Korea inhabit the hilly Korean peninsula that expands southward from the Chinese border throughout the Yalu River, as the peninsula nearly touches Japan as its southern end. Before they move in different direction, the two Koreas shared a prevalent ethnicity and history. This happened in the mid 1900s. Historically, by the end of the World War II, the United States and Soviet armies conquered Japan and split up the freed North and South Korea at the 38th parallel. Thus, the Soviet Union began to administer North Korea, while the United States administering the South Korea. So, on the year 1948, Independent Republic created, and on the year 1950, North Korean forces had conquered South Korea. This picture shown mixed religion in Korea, and this picture is modern religion in Korea. In the year of 1953, the United Nations sent military United States commanders to support South Korea, and following destruction over much of the territory as warfare moved back and forth, the two sides agreed on an armistice. The agreement had been resulted by the formation of demilitarized zone between both countries. The strip of no man's land is flanked for the two countries by the heavily militarized areas. North Korea, meanwhile, have possessed the ability to make nuclear and biochemical warheads. And
in late year 1990s, there were signs of closer ties developing between the both countries. So this picture shown the Korean War maps, and this picture shown the demilitarized zone maps between North Korea and South Korea. So the presidential visit led to reunion of Korean family that have been separate for 50 years. From the task of reunification, from the talk of reunification of the two countries had gathered some momentum, but both countries still had reservation about such a move. More recently, there have been heightened tension between two countries because in 2010, North Korea was held responsible for the sinking of a South Korean warship and for the death of 48 sailors on board, and also the shelling of Yeonpyeong Island, reportedly in retaliation artillery fired toward it by South Korea. So as we can see, this is demilitarized zone force. So, with huge support from the United States, after the Korean War, South Korea became one of the newly urban industrial countries. Meanwhile, North Korea maintained as a communist regime under the personal dictatorship.
Responses to European introduction. The Portuguese led European expedition to the region at the start of the 1500s, but were soon followed by the Dutch, Spanish, French, and British. Although European colonists never occupied China, Korea, or Japan, the arrival of traders, missionaries, and military forces affected them. Their partial incorporation into Western global economic and cultural systems began. China resists colonization. In 1557, the Portuguese established Macau as the first trading port of Chinese. China opposed other attempts to set up trade or political ties during the 1800s, the global economic system. China resisted other attempts to set up trade or political links until the global economic system expanded during 1800s. The British East India Company raised demand for Chinese tea exported through the southern port of the Guangzhou, Canton. At first, the company paid for the tea in silver, but replaced silver with opium from India as the trade increased. When the Chinese official reasserted the policy of forbidding opium imports, the Opium War of 1841 until 1842 forced the Qing government to sign Treaty of Nanjing. This treaty established a framework for continuing British trade with China and the opening of other ports. So the picture shown the situation of Opium War. The Kowloon Peninsula opposite Hong Kong Island was ceded to Britain in 1852, and in 1898, China leased the new territories to Britain for 99 years. Colonial status was unthinkable for the Chinese. The trading concession through eastern ports weakened the Qing emperor's authority and internal political structure. Disrupted Chinese Republic. In 1912, the Republic replaced the infallible Qing dynasty. Sun Yat-sen, who had spent several years in exile in 1980 for rebellion, and his Kuomintang party claimed overall political power. Attempts to reunify China under a common government in the 1920s and 1930s, however, were hampered by strife among local warlords, a communist rebellion, and Japanese attacks. The main Japanese invasion of China began with a 1933 expansion out of the northeast, which the Japanese army had occupied earlier in the 1900s, followed by a general declaration of war in 1937. The Kuomintang and Chinese communists united in resistance. The picture shown the Kuomintang and the local warlords. Japanese aggression. After 1867, the new Meiji government of Japan had concluded that it should take major action to prevent world domination by Western countries. By rapid industrialization, the Meiji leaders followed the journey of Western culture to international political influence. At the end of 1800s, its new military power enabled Japan to conquer Taiwan and Korea, and to win a war against Russia that enabled it to take Manchuria in northeastern China. In the early 1900s, Japanese governments became more democratic and social groups established political parties and labor unions. In the area preceding World War II, industrial was focused on interconnection between government and industry, cheap labours, large number of small businesses, and improved infrastructure. After invading China, the Japanese military industrial war machine, invoking the past glories of the shogun leaders and overriding the civil government, occupied much of Southeast Asia and many Pacific islands. Japan's antagonism to the United States came into focus in December 1941 with surprise assault on the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. During World War II, Japanese military leaders promoted themselves as a master race. The rest of East Asia was firstly guarded against Japanese.
Okay, now let's move on to the next topic, which is East Asia multinational. Each of you must know that East Asia countries like Japan, China, and Korea are famous with their advanced technology. So basically, this topic is about how companies from East Asia countries are mostly on the same level with the foreign companies. We take one example of company from Japan, which is Toyota. Did you know that in 2007, Toyota became the leading car maker in the world, leaving behind the American automotive groups? How come they can beat that famous foreign company? Because of their strong policies that remained successful as it expanded exports and manufacturing abroad, and also because of the 4 philosophies adopted in their company, which makes them even more powerful. So now I will explain about those philosophies. There are 4 philosophies adopted in Toyota. The first one is Jidoka. Jidoka is the automation with human intelligence combining high quality, short delivery times, and low cost production. It is a lean manufacturing principle that ensures the quality is automatically built into a production process. Secondly, Kaizen, which means creating continuous improvement based on the idea that small, ongoing positive changes can reap major improvement. It helps to ensure maximum quality and improvements in efficiency both in terms of equipment and work procedures. Thirdly, just in time, or the short form is JIT. JIT directly delivering the components as soon as it is complete and done. It is a technique of arranging regular small deliveries of exactly the correct amount required. The last philosophy is construction of cost competitiveness for the 21st century, or known as CCC 21. CCC 21 is about cutting the cost at billions of dollars by reviewing its design, manufacturing, and other costs with the objectives of better using equipment and human resources. How it works? Well, firstly, quality and price targets for the vehicles delivered to customer were set, and the function and quality of components and cost level required to realize these targets were assessed. At the same time, the company increased efforts into cross-model initiatives, studying each component to determine what parts could be made common across multiple vehicle models so that it will reduce the cost.
The sub-region under East Asia is Japan, the Koreas, China, Mongolia, and Taiwan. The first sub-region is Japan. It is economic activity of Japan. The first one is manufacturers of automobiles. The second one is agriculture of barley grass. And the last one is services of entertainment. The first one is manufacturers of automobiles. The name of the company is Toyota Motor Corporation. The Toyota headquarters located at Aichi, Japan. The company was founded by Kiichiro Toyoda in 1937. Toyota Motor Corporation is a Japanese multinational automotive manufacturer. Toyota is the global market leader in sale of hybrid electric vehicles and one of the largest companies to encourage the mass market adoption of hybrid vehicles across the globe. Toyota is also a market leader in hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Toyota was the world's first automobile manufacturer to produce more than 10 million vehicles per year. As of December 2019, was the 10th largest company in the world by revenue. In 2007, Toyota's corporate structure consisted of 364,445 employees worldwide. And not to forget the famous line from the company, Toyota, all about the drive. The second economic activities by Japan is agriculture of barley grass. The name of the company is Toyo Green Farm Co. Limited. The headquarters is located at Fukuoka. The company grows and manages barley grasses. It has been manufacturing health and cosmetic in Japan and barley grass for powder beverages called Aojiru. Aojiru is a Japanese vegetable drink most commonly made from the kale or young barley grass. They have been committed with producing the organic product by using organic farming. On the left side, you can see the picture of company logo, and on the right side, this is the example of Aojiru drink. The last economic activities by Japan is services of entertainment. The name of the company is USJ LLC. USJ means Universal Studio Japan. The company owned and operated by USJ LLC, which is wholly owned by NBC Universal. It is located at Osaka. Universal Studio Japan, a theme park with a collection of world-class entertainment for all ages to enjoy. The park opened on 31st March 2001 to be recognized as the number one entertainment destination in the world. According to the 2040 Team Index Global Attraction Attendance Report, Universal Studio Japan is ranked 5th among the top 25 amusement parks worldwide. In 2011, USJ Christmas tree was recognized by the Guinness World Record as the most illuminated Christmas tree in the world, having 260,498 lights. Currently, the Universal Studio Japan is closed down due to the novel coronavirus.
Okay, back to me, Putri Balkis. I will explain about sub-region, the Koreas. So these are the economic activities of South Korea, which are manufactures, tourism, and entertainment. So we move on to the first one, manufacturing and the chaebol. Manufacturing industries focus toward high-tech industry. In developing into huge commingling South Korean government existed the family-owned companies such as Hyundai, Daewoo, LG, and Samsung. And most of these companies located in Seoul. In the beginning, from the subsidiaries that frequently had little possibility of triumph, taking on enormous debt and providing vital issues for the country, the chaebol become various in their products. So, what is chaebol? Chaebol are defined as a large industrial conglomerate that is run and controlled by an owner or family in South Korea. So, when Hala, the 12th largest chaebol, bankrupt in 1997 with debt of 20 times the company assets, Hyundai was found to have been assured around 15% of the debts. It shown that the fact the founders of the two chaebol were brothers and had strong association links. The chaebol also managed large parts of the South Korean financial market, come up with an environment for building up debts that have been apportioned through many links. For instance of chaebol history, South Korea was formerly called the Republic of Hyundai after one of its strong chaebol. Hyundai was reorganized around some independent companies right after the year 1997 crisis, susceptible its enormous debt and destruction grip on the economy. As operated by its United States sales, the only one that can earn much profit is Hyundai Motor. President of South Korea in the year of 2003, Roh Moo-hyun, promised to make the chaebol more profitable. He has the support of young reformists who had desire to change the country's orthodox, business-operated political system to one that is more wide-ranging. In the early 1990s, South Korea was a vital lender in a modern China that taking benefit of cheap labor value in the nearby China province of Shandong. The starting dash of small companies to invest in Chinese location provided the access for vital South Korean corporations such as Daewoo, Samsung, and Hyundai, which connected to hundreds of smaller companies manufacturing their elements and outcome of products. Indebtedness reached the point in late of year 1997 when the South Korean currency unit, the won and its stocks exchange fall down. The reduction of its currency expanded South Korea indebtedness to the other countries. In advance by external loan providers, bank closures, bankruptcies, and unemployment trembled militant trade unions into political action against the rigorous circumstances. And in the early 2000s, the South Korean economy had largely recuperated, helped by the breakup of some family-owned chaebol and some of the new firms mingled with United States and European corporations. So we move on to the next services, which are tourism. The tourist industry in the Republic of Korea are defined as tourism in South Korea. The main tourist destination is Seoul. However, there are also well-liked tourist destinations outside of Seoul, such as Soraksan, the national park, Gyeongju, the historic city, and subtropical Jeju Island. The Korea Tourism Organization (KTO) is responsible for the tourism industry in South Korea. These organizations are mostly located in Gangwon-do. About 11.1 million foreign tourists visited South Korea in early of year 2012 and making it the greatest visited country in the world and ranking as sixth most visited country in Asia. The tourists who are non-Korean were mostly from other East Asia countries such as Japan, China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Due to the Korean wave, the contemporary popularity of Korean popular culture it has expanded number of tourist arrival. About the North Korea, without a special permission, visiting the North Korea is not ordinarily feasible. But however, in recent years managed group tours have permitted group of South Korean citizens to visit Mount Kungmang. Historically, due to the Korean War and following economic strain as well as government reduction on overseas travel, also with passport problems only for a limited range of reasons, for instance, as traveling abroad on government businesses and so on, South Korean were not probable to traveling abroad. Overseas travel reduction and regulation have been permanently evaluated to avoid foreign currency squander from travel to overseas since the year 1960s. Throughout the year 1980s, in catering to the globalization of the South Korea community, liberalization of international travel has started to take place. In conclusion, South Koreans have been allowed to travel freely abroad. In addition, the busy way of life of modern South Koreans had taken to difficulties in moderating vacation with family or friends, and the expanding in one-person household have caused to the increasing number of South Koreans self-travel. As stated to the result of a plane ticket survey in 2016, the topmost foreign destinations for South Korean are Osaka, Bangkok, and Tokyo. In addition, European destinations such as London, Paris, and Rome have fallen in revisiting because of their geographical distance, costly airfares, and high costs. Most of the South Korean tourist industry are carried by domestic tourism. Most of the country lies within a day's round trip of any vital city due to the country's huge network of trains and buses. About 75% of the total number of international tourists come essentially from neighboring countries in Asia, such as Japan, China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Okay, now we move on to the last part of the economic activities of South Korea, which are the services of entertainment. So I'm pretty sure that all of you know about the entertainment industry in Korea. Okay, entertainment industry in Korea are known as Korean Wave. The most popular Korean entertainment company are SM Entertainment, YG Entertainment, JYP Entertainment, and FNC Entertainment. These companies are all located in Seoul. Since the beginning of 21st century, the Korean wave has become a powerful worldwide occurrence heavily affecting the modern cultures, music industry, film industry, television industry, and behavioral features of diverse people throughout the world. Since the year of 1990s, the Korean wave is the increase in the global popularity of South Korean culture. During its starting point, East South and Southeast Asia had driven by spread of K-dramas and K-pop wave. The Korean wave developed from a territorial development into a global phenomenon carried by the internet and social media and the growth of K-pop music videos on YouTube. South Korea has come out as a vital exporter of popular culture and tourism feature which have become an outstanding part of its expanding economy since the turn of the 21st century. The South Korean government keep up its creative industry constantly with subsidies and sponsored for establishment as a form of soft capability and in its point of begin to be one of the world's prime exporters of culture ahead with Japanese and British culture, a place that the United States has controlled for nearly a century by the growing popularity of Korean pop culture in the world. The South Korean government assigned 1% of its annual budget to cultural industry, and it had increased as $1 billion fund to bring up popular culture in the year of 2014. In addition, due to the evolution of social networking services and online video sharing program, which have permitted the Korean entertainment industry to get a significant overseas audience by the success of the Korean Wave. Since the mid of year 2000s, with the use of social media in existing promotion, administration, and consumption of various forms of Korean entertainment, especially K-pop, that has been donated to the surge in global popularity. So this picture shown the example of entertainment industry in Korea, which are in K-drama, Goblin the Lonely and Great God, and this is the K-pop celebrity EXO, and this is the popular reality show in Korea, which are Running Man.
Subregion China, Mongolia and Taiwan. China is the world's third largest by area country. Mongolia and Taiwan are small comparison with China but have distinctive roles in China and world connection. The picture shown map of China, Mongolia and Taiwan. So we move to economic activities of Taiwan. They have three: agriculture, industrial manufacturing, and services tourism. Agriculture, rice, vegetable, and fruit. The main crops are rice, butternut, cocoa, tea, citrus, mangoes, lychees, bananas, pineapples, wax apples, and Asian pears. Idun Enterprise Company is the largest supplier of rice in Taiwan. The paddy field most located at Homei City, Lukang City, and Changhua City. Additional information: rice is the most valuable cash crop in Taiwan, with an annual yield worth US $1.7 billion in 2013. Move to industrial manufacturing, electronics and semiconductor. Taiwan has become the world's leading supplier of computer peripherals, including motherboards, monitors, mouse interfaces, network cards, and graphic cards, and holds the largest market share of notebook computers and semiconductor. These sectors been invested by chipmaker Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. Its headquarters and main operations located in the Hsinchu Science and Industrial Park in Hsinchu, Taiwan. The picture shown about the complete set of laptops. In 2000, Taiwan was the world's fourth largest computer hardware supplier. Services tourism. Tourism affairs are managed by the Tourism Bureau of the Ministry of Transportation and Communication of Taiwan. In 2015, 87% of Taiwanese had demonstrated travel for their tourism activities, in which the Genting National Park became their most favorite destination. These locations, which are Taipei, Hualien, Tainan, Genting, Chiayi, and Nantao, also become tourism places. Additional information: new southbound policy of closer ties with Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand saved the tourism industry. Visitor number to Taiwan hit a record in 2019, rising 77% from a year earlier.
That's all from us. To have a better understanding, you all can go through your textbook. And before I forgot, Salam Ramadan everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Salam Ramadan dan selamat berpuasa.
Thank you guys for spending your time to watching our videos, and I hope you guys understand what we shared, and thank you to Sir Shazid because teach us and guide us about this East Asia region. If you guys have any question, you can ask us later. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, it's Fitriani here. So you just finished watching the video, and I hope the way we explain it make you understand what East Asia is about. So yeah, if you have any question, just ask us directly tonight at 10 p.m. on Telegram. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for your time and selamat berpuasa.